Girl's body found in Deer Creek Canyon, Littleton, Colorado.
The nude and battered body of Mary Lee Burt, 15, of Littleton was found in Deer Creek Canyon west of here Friday afternoon after she was reported missing some 18 hours. The daughter of Mr. and Mrs. N. Allen Burt of Littleton, the girl never returned from Thursday's cheerleading practice. Her body was found by a county highway employee about 1.5 miles west of Phillipsburg, and he radioed the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. R.D. Perkins, investigator for the Sheriff's Department, said Miss Burt apparently had been beaten about the face, but her clothing was not discovered. Time of her death was not immediately determined, pending an autopsy. The girl disappeared from Arapahoe County following the cheerleading session and was seen wearing a green pullover sweater with a large gold-lettered G on the front and a green skirt. Miss Burt, a 9th grade student, was reported carrying a notebook and school books, but they were not found. Arapahoe County Sheriff Roy Voigt and Jefferson County Sheriff Harold Bray said both their departments will be active in an investigation. Voigt said possible connections between Miss Burt's death and the slaying of Connie Paris last March would be considered. He said Miss Paris was found, also nude and badly bruised, at the edge of Bear Creek Park in southwest Denver. Her clothing was never found either, he said.
Truck reportedly involved in slaying of young girl.
Sheriff's offices of Jefferson and Arapahoe counties were searching Saturday night for a dark pickup truck or carry-all in connection with the slaying of 15-year-old Mary Lee Burt. A police helicopter from Denver was also used Saturday. Officers were concentrating their probe on two fronts: the slain girl's clothes, which still hadn't been found Saturday, and the vehicle they said might have been used to transport the girl's body to where it was found. Coroner Ken Rainier of Jefferson County said evidence indicated the girl was strangled. The nude body of the Littleton girl was found Friday beneath a bridge in Deer Creek Canyon, west of Littleton. The coroner said an examination showed the girl had been struck on the head with some sort of heavy weapon, but the skull was not fractured. Sheriff Roy Voigt of Arapahoe County said the girl, a cheerleader at Goddard Middle School at Littleton, had walked home with a girlfriend after a basketball game Thursday. The sheriff said Mary Lee telephoned her mother, Mrs. N. Allen Burt, asking her to pick her up. But Voigt said Mrs. Burt drove to the school instead. Meanwhile, her daughter had begun walking home. The family reported her missing about 3.5 hours after she was last seen alive, the sheriff said.
Lawmen push investigation into girl's kidnap slaying.
Police conducting an investigation into the slaying of 15-year-old Mary Lee Burt said Sunday they were following several leads in their efforts to trace down a truck-type vehicle allegedly involved in the abduction of the pretty young cheerleader. Captain Ed Nelson of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office said his men were following up and developing some 50 to 70 leads they got from the some 120 families in the Columbine Valley area where the girl was believed abducted. Some people definitely thought they saw a truck in the area about 6:50 p.m. Thursday when the girl was last seen walking on Middlefield Road near Columbine Country Club in the Arapahoe County, Nelson said. The clue that the truck may have been involved in the rape-slaying of the girl, whose body was found Friday half submerged in Deer Creek in Jefferson County, was supplied earlier this week by the victim's brother, 16-year-old Raymond Burt. Burt told the police he had seen a truck stop at about the same place he had seen a blonde-haired girl with pigtails walking on Middlefield Road the night the girl disappeared. All indications suggest that the girl in pigtails was Mary Lee Burt, according to Captain Stanley Smith of the Jefferson County Sheriff's Office. An Arapahoe County posse of approximately 20 men under the direction of David Tyke was checking leads all day Sunday, Captain Nelson said. Meanwhile, 8 investigators from his department canvassed families in the Columbine Valley area, talked with associates of the girl and examined past records of known sex offenders, Nelson said. 3 detectives from the Eaglewood Police Department were also involved in the investigation. Jefferson County Coroner Ken Rainey said a Saturday autopsy revealed the teenager probably died of strangulation. He said she suffered a blow on the head apparently from a blunt object which did not cause a skull fracture but probably would have rendered her unconscious. He said there was also evidence the girl had been sexually assaulted.
From the Rocky Mountain News. Murder clock ticking. Investigators haven't given up on 32-year-old rape slaying. By Sarah Huntley, news staff writer. Littleton, to those who knew her, sunny, vibrant Mary Lee Burt will be forever 15. But to those who are hunting her killer, time is running out. Today, 32 years to the day after one of Arapahoe County's most notorious homicides, investigators are making one last push to crack the heartbreaking mystery. Witnesses and suspects are getting older. They're dying, said investigator Bruce Isaacson. This is probably our last chance. Mary Lee, granddaughter of Nate Burt, who owned Burt Chevrolet, disappeared February 26, 1970, while walking home from a friend's house after attending a basketball game at Goddard Middle School. Her blonde hair and pigtails and still dressed in her cheerleading uniform, the teen was last seen stopping to talk to the driver of a pickup truck. Her body, nude and battered, was found the next day under a bridge on Deer Creek Canyon Road, several miles southwest of her home. The rope that was used to strangle her was still wrapped around her neck. She'd been hit in the head, probably with enough force to be knocked unconscious. Technicians found tissue scrapings under the teen's fingernails, indicating she fought back, and slivers of wood in her fingers. Metal shavings, like those found on the floor of a machine shop, were tangled in her hair. Mary Lee had been raped, an indignity that investigators now say could give them their best evidence. For the past 3 years, authorities have been quietly conducting DNA testing. The tests are the results of slides, collected and preserved during Mary Lee's autopsy. Tom Henry of the Denver Medical Examiner's Office found the slides, still in the original sealed envelope, while making one last sweep through the office's files. The discovery breathed new life into a stalled investigation. Now we know if we have DNA, it's huge. It is great evidence, one way or another, to include or to exclude, Isaacson said. We don't have to depend on a confession. We can let science do some speaking. So far, the evidence has helped narrow the options. The results of laboratory tests have ruled out 24 possible suspects as sources of the DNA, investigators said. The people tested included Mary Lee's 2 brothers, who were not considered likely suspects by police, and a child molester who knew Mary Lee, and moved to the top of the suspect list after he told authorities he probably had feelings of. The convicted pedophile was identified years ago as the primary suspect in the slaying. His DNA has been tested twice and it doesn't match. Authorities, racing the clock, have also tested the DNA of 2 dead men. In one case, the man's DNA was on file from an autopsy. In the other case, Isaacson and investigator Rick Falstead persuaded the suspect's parents to give samples. Both men were cleared. The majority of the suspects were more than willing to be tested, Isaacson said. It was like, yeah, clear me so you can spend your time finding the person who did this. Marilee's friends and family hope the DNA will lead investigators to her killer, but said the process of excluding suspects has also brought peace. So many of the people on the suspect list were familiar, said Jandy Clayton Kamosi, who was a friend of Marilee's. Thank God they have dismissed her brothers, because that had been very hard. Knowing the family, that was never in the realm of possibility, but I remember there was talk in the community. That's a tremendous relief, after all these years. Kamosi still remembers the sense of shock that followed Marilee's slaying. We had this very close-knit community. Littleton was a small town then. It really did rock our security, she said. Investigators believe Marilee was abducted by someone she knew. The teen had called her mother for a ride before leaving her friend's home, but Sherry Burt mistakenly thought her daughter was still at the school. She set out for the school as Marilee started walking. Passing motorists would later tell authorities they saw a truck, described as 1968 to 1970 light-colored two-tone pickup, pull alongside the teen at about 6:45 p.m. on Middlefield Road. A short while later, the truck sped away, nearly running a stop sign, Falstad said. Marilee was gone. Also gone were Marilee's schoolbooks and her junior high cheerleading uniform, a green pullover sweater with a large gold G on the front and the numerals 70 on the sleeve, and her first name in script on the back, a green skirt with gold pleats, a white blouse, a dark nylon windbreaker, and white shoes. Searchers with the Arapahoe County Sheriff's posse combed the canyon but found no trace of the missing items. The suspicious truck has never been identified. Marilee's slaying occurred about 2 years after the disappearance and killing of another girl. Connie Paris, 18, was found March 31, 1968, among weeds and rubbish in a ditch in southwest Denver. She, too, had been disrobed, strangled, and sexually assaulted. At the time, authorities said it was possible the cases were connected. But the recent DNA tests suggest that is unlikely. Samples from the two scenes do not match, investigators said. Marilee's mother, Sherry Burt, declined to comment, but asked a friend, Julie Towers, to convey a simple message: just tell them I'll never give up. This just devastated Marilee's family, Towers said. I remember standing next to Sherry when the detectives came to say Marilee's body had been found. I just held her. Her whole body weight fell on me. Since the slaying, Sherry Burt has devoted her time to working with victims programs, particularly Courthouse Incorporated, which provides court-ordered housing for young girls, many of whom are the victims of sexual assault. One of the homes is named after Marilee. Towers, who took ballet and toe classes with Marilee, remembers the teen as outgoing and feisty. She was just a bubble, the most joyous person you could ever meet, she said. The passage of time doesn't make the loss easier. All it takes is a single memory or a song bridge over troubled waters, one of Marilee's favorites, to bring it back. I can go back there immediately. It stole our innocence, Towers said. I think about Marilee a lot. When I got married, I thought about her. When I had children, I thought about her. I'm a grandmother now, and I think, oh my gosh, how old would she be? I think you are always wondering, Towers said. We want to know what happened. These are the memories that move Isaacson and Falstad, who were assigned to the case 3 years ago. The pair estimated they have already interviewed more than 100 people. Here's a young girl, 15, walking home from school after cheerleading. She's abducted, raped, and murdered. She's a true victim, Isaacson said. It's been 30-some years now, and the people we talk to still say she never said a bad or mean word to anyone. There's nothing I've ever heard said about Marilee that was bad. We want to solve this case, Falstad said. The investigators are working their way down a list of about 140 people, most of whom were referenced in initial reports. Some are potential suspects, others are witnesses. Many have moved on or married, making the task of finding them harder. Investigators have not ruled out the possibility that more than one person was involved and are asking anyone with information about the case, no matter how trivial, to call 303-795-4975. Cheryl Cook Moore, the friend whose home Marilee left the night she was killed, said she was pleased to hear that authorities haven't given up on solving the crime. "That would be so great for Marilee's mom," said Moore, who now lives out of state. "It was just such an awful, awful time. I would love for her to be able to know, even if the person is dead." Moore sometimes dreams about the day her friend disappeared. You are 15 years old. Your girlfriend leaves your house and you never see her again. Everything just kind of changed after that. "I'm going to be 47 this year. I think, my God, we were 15, Moore said. Look at all the years she didn't get." Staff writer Kevin Vaughn contributed to this report. Contact Sarah Huntley at 303-892-5212 or hunt@RockyMountainNews.com. February 26, 2002.
On the 9th of October 2017, a disturbing ARG YouTube channel called Deeper uploaded a video that had cryptic messages within. When they were deciphered, it said, "Marilee Albert." Then only 2 weeks later, on the 24th of October 2017, a new channel appeared on YouTube named Marilee Albert. This new channel only had, and still has only one video, named A Tribute to Marilee Albert. In my opinion, this was very strange at the time, and is even stranger 5 years on. Now then, let's have a closer look at this strangeness, and compare the two videos of the two different channels.
Sometimes I sit and think alone. Wonder if goodbye was worth it. Sitting alone, and all I do is think of you.
Note: this was posted after the Deeper video it supposedly correlates to.
Both the videos have exactly the same song playing in the background called "I'll Sit Alone and Think a Lot About You" by Jandek. Which in the context of things, comes across as sounding very, very creepy, as you would imagine a killer might reminisce over his victim.
February 26, 1970, 15-year-old Marilee Burt finished cheerleading a basketball game at Goddard Middle School. Marilee then walked with her friend and stopped in at her friend's home on Berry Drive. Marilee then phoned her mother to get a ride home from her friend's house. But her mother mistakenly thought her daughter was still at the school. And so she set out to pick up Marilee from the school. When her mother didn't arrive at her friend's home, she decided to walk home. Despite several independent witnesses seeing Marilee walk a route that included Berry Drive, Bowles Avenue and Middlefield Road, she never made it home. Marilee was last seen talking to someone in a vehicle that had stopped on South Middlefield Road. Her family began a frantic search and reported Marilee as missing to Arapahoe County Sheriff's Office. Authorities immediately began canvassing the area, but she was not found that evening. The search continued into the next day and ended tragically around noon. A Jefferson County road crew discovered Marilee's nude body in Deer Creek Canyon, southwest from where she was last seen. It was determined that Marilee had been strangled and raped, but no solid suspect leads developed and the case went cold.
Detectives going over the case found a viable DNA sample taken from Burt's body in an evidence locker in 1998. During a 1998 review of the case, evidence collected in 1970 was submitted for DNA analysis and yielded a full donor profile. This, in turn, allowed for the elimination of a long list of possible suspects. Currently, the cold case team is utilizing this new genetic profile in an attempt to identify Marilee's killer.
The use of forensic genealogy is key to the identification of Marilee's killer,